Simplest quadcopter build here, guys. I live in an apartment, so I'm not really available to the most useful tools and stuff. So I've tried to simplify a quadcopter that I've built in the past. Here it is before. Just took it apart. This was kind of a foldable contraption that, you know, when it broke, it just took me too much effort to rebuild parts and stuff for it. So I'm trying to make this as simple as possible. Literally all I did is measured out two 175 millimeter or 87.5 millimeter each pieces of plexiglass. They're not quite square even. As you can see right here, this one's about 90 millimeters. And what I did is just overlaid these so I can have a little bit of aesthetics and have a little bit of direction forward. But whatnot, I'll show you what's going on here. These are, I believe, 5/16 inch plywood or pine wood, something like that. Cheap, you can buy them at Marshalls or whatnot. Come in like 2-foot lengths. I cut out one at 250 millimeters, which will lay in the middle. And I got two other ones, and these are cut in half, so they can lay right here like this. I have another identical size piece of plexiglass. It's gonna lay right over here. Now again, I'm making this as simple as possible, so I don't even want to use bolts or anything. Literally all you have to have is an X-Acto knife to cut your lexan plate, maybe a handsaw to cut your plywood, and then maybe some sort of drill. I'm going to put a drill bit on this later, but this whole thing is going to be held together by zip ties, pretty much. Zip ties and maybe double back sticky tape. So this is the beginning right here, and let me gather my other parts and we'll continue on. Alrighty guys, hopefully that's better. But as you can see right here, I laid out my 4 lines as you saw previously, and pretty much what I did is I did a dot on either side of the leg. This is where your zip ties are going to come through, loop through over 1 or 2, and we're going to compress down both of these discs. They're still kind of stuck together right now, but all I did that with is pretty much use this clamp here, this Dremel tool, that with the only size drill bit I could find to get fit in this Dremel tool, and drilled them through, and gather my other parts, and I'll be back. Alright guys, back here again. What I'm doing is I'm just placing these little bitty double-sided sticky tapes. They're kind of like foamy, so they can vibrate, absorb some vibrations from these arms. And I'm just sticking them. I'm going to stick 4 on each point here, and then I'm probably going to stick about one more, maybe right here in the middle as well. So, and then you'll do that on both sides. So we'll go ahead and stick these here, and then I'll put some more on top as well. Alright guys, got my all my sticks in place. They're all glued. Well, actually right now they're just held in by the sticky pieces of double-sided sticky tape. You can see there's a little bit of a gap. Don't worry though, we'll squish that down later on with these zip ties. As you can see right here, I'm pulling all this off of an old build, so I already have a lot of, you know, the tedious wire harness and everything done. This one was way too large. It came off my old quad, which stretched all the way from here to here, so I just folded it in half with a zip tie, and I'm pretty much just gonna lay this right in here, and either hot glue or maybe just the pressure of the plate on top will hold this down, and then I'll spread out all my connections to my ESCs here, and then also I have my external BEC, or for whatever I want, maybe FPV or something later on, but doubt that. This is going to be a small, little, fast, little zippy thing. So I'm going to get this wire harness mounted on here. Then I'm going to go ahead and get this top plate mounted as well with the zip ties. And then we will have our KK2 mounted about right here. And then we'll also have, excuse me, this will be about here. We'll have our receiver about right here. And I got 4 of these Cobra 2204 1960 kV motors with 20 amp Afro ESCs flashed with the bcheli firmware, because the Simon K on the Afros was just giving me a lot of jitter and stuff at high RPM. So anyways, gotta go actually tend to my crying child. I'll be back. Alright guys, checking back in here again. As you can see, we have my wire harness in place. I know it's kind of a funky layout and doesn't look like it quite will work, but I'm sure I'll make it work here in a minute. I have all my double-sided sticky tape on top of my other posts, and what I'm now about to do is I'm gonna go ahead and stick this next plate down and zip tie everything up, and I'll show you what that looks like. Alright, bye. Alright guys, back here again. Got my top plate all soldered in, zip tied in. Again, I'm only using the double-sided tape that you can see right in here, and zip ties pretty much to compress everything. Here's my wire harness coming out one side. What I did is I took another piece of this lexan plastic sheeting, very thin stuff. This sheet's still kind of flexible, whatnot, but it's going to serve its purpose. What I did is I cut one strip off this wide across and stacked them, cut them all in small pieces, stacked them on top of each other. As you can see here, I drilled 2 holes, and now I'm about to drill a 3rd hole right through the middle here. So these will actually be my mounting plates that the motor itself will be able to bolt to. And of course this is 3 stacked on top of each other here, because they kind of stick together when you're drilling through them. So just keep that in mind so you can pull them apart, because these are kind of difficult to pull apart. But I gotta drill this one more hole, and then I'll show you what it looks like after I get everything mounted on there. Alright guys, here we are again. As you've seen before, I had my top plate bolted down. Now what I've done is I've attached my ESC with my custom little plexiglass plates. I do some modifications to the center hole and waller it out a little bit for that center shaft, so it wouldn't be rubbing on the bearing. But again, like I said, this is all going to be a zip tie / sticky tape build. And what I did here is I just put the plexiglass on the motor right there, and as you can see, 2 zip ties on the edges, wrap around, and then these are 2 screws on the sides. This gives it a very, very sturdy attachment placement, as you can see. And then right here we'll have my ESCs. We'll be able to easily plug in right here. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and try to get the rest of these on here, and I'll be back with you guys. Alright guys, back again. Had a little trouble with my motor mount number 2. Of course you can be as precise as you want to, but I'm trying to make this super simple, and I'm really not measuring anything or doing anything like that. But so far I got this 2nd motor on here. This will be the back right here, and there's the motor mount. I actually drill a couple holes through the plexiglass piece itself, so see how that goes. Alright, I'll try to get these other 2 motors on here, and we'll see where we're at. Alrighty guys, here we are. Got all 4 motors and ESCs mounted up. Of course everything takes some finagling, but not too hard at all, as you can see here. What I ended up doing by the time I got to the 3rd and 4th motor mount right here, by cutting those simple plexiglass pieces out, I ended up drilling 2 holes on either side of the actual screw going into the motor, just so I can have the zip tie wrap up through and around the wood like so. And it's very rigid though. For everything on here being only held together by zip ties, it's gonna be pretty tiny, compact. It's gonna be a great little thing. And all I gotta do now is get that KK2 board mounted on here. I'm gonna take this piece right here, This is the KK2 1.15, and I got stevies 1.18 on here. And then I got your basic Turnigy 9X receiver without the housing on it and stuff. I was just trying to make it low profile. But I'm going to get these on here. I'm going to actually stick these right here in the middle. I'll show you how I do that here in a second. Using this double-sided sticky foam tape. I'll check back here shortly. Alrighty guys, back again. Got all my motors attached and have all of my my KK2 here and my Turnigy 9X transmitter, or yes, receiver, excuse me, right here. As you can see, I took the plastic mold off of it. It's pretty simple to do. Makes it quite a bit smaller. And all I did to make these stick in here, and they're in there pretty good, is I used double-sided sticky tape as well right there. Put a little safety piece right in front of the other plugs I'm not using, just so they don't go into my ESC wire right here in case of a hard landing or something. And right there you can see the other edge is folded right up underneath the edge of my ESC right here. Of course I'm using 2 big ESCs because I always plan to be safe, but could use smaller ones on here. You can get away with much smaller ESCs on here, maybe 12 amps or so. But as you can see, I just sticky taped the KK2 boards here as well. And now we have this disaster of wires to deal with. And that's what I'm going to try to figure out contending with right now. And I'll show you guys how I did that here in just a second. Alright? Alrighty, and there it is. It's all completed. Got all the electronics and everything on there. All zip tied down. Make sure everything clears your props. Now I gotta do a Velcro battery tray on the bottom. Showing the newly built Super Mini Quad First Flight